All right. I think we're all set. All right. Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast. Tonight with us, we have Derek Brundle, the 2019 Kayak Bass Fishing Rookie of the Year. How are we doing tonight, sir?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing well. I'm glad we have an audience tonight behind you. These two studs sitting on the wall.
Yeah, right. These guys, they're always here. They're always hanging around.
It's prime time hunting season right now. Haven't you bagged yourself one already this year?
You know what? Funny story with that is I've been chasing them all year, of course. I really like to hunt during bow season as much as I can, but that's when I always see my biggest deer. And the other day I was running into my tree stand just to check my game camera, so it was pouring rain out. And of course, I didn't bring my bow because I was coming home from work, so I just wanted to run in and check my game cameras real quick. And I walked up on a giant, and it was like 15 yards from me. Of course,
Oh,
I got no bow, no nothing. So since then, bow season, that was last week. Bow season ended, and then shotgun season started out here in Massachusetts. And we got out a couple of times, and I finally got my brother-in-law back into the woods with me, and I took him out and put him on one of my stands out there. And he was there for like 40 minutes, and I hear pow. So I texted him real quick. I said, "I know that was you," and he said it was. And I said, "Did you get him?" He said, "Yeah, I think so. It's that big one that you took the video of." So I'm like,
oh
"Oh man."
yeah.
So I go running over there, of course, and that thing went about 50 yards, piled up, a big 10-pointer. It was nice.
Yeah, I saw the picture. That
Yeah.
video was awesome. Good for him.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I was excited. It was the first time he's got back out in the woods for a while, so it was good to have him out there.
Yeah, I've personally I've been jealous of my brother, my father, my uncle, and I. We usually hunt together, and this is the first year I haven't been able to because I've been in Indiana working, and so I'd wake up at 5 in the morning and I'd be going to the gym before work, but they'd be waking up and they'd already be in the tree stand in our little group chat talking about deer walking by them, and I'm sitting here getting ready for work, getting all jealous, but. Yeah, I've had some of those moments. I shot my first buck ever when I was 15, and it wasn't anything huge. It was my first buck, so it was a
Sure.
6 pointer, and it figures because it was like the last weekend. So I shot that one. I'm like, all right, I got cat out of the bag, got my first deer. I go scouting with my father the next day at brand new land that we got permission on. My brother brings his bow, so he's the only one hunting, and I figures I run into a giant 11 pointer
Yeah.
going 10 yards, doesn't see me, walks right in front of me. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh yeah,
So,
that's always the
live and
way.
learn, but yeah, live and learn. But yeah, so we'll get rolling. So we'll kind of get into your story and hear about you and who got into fishing and how'd you get into fishing. I want to hear all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think my story is a lot like most guys. You mentioned it just a little while ago. I mean, my dad got me into fishing. My dad got me into hunting, the outdoors, everything. Actually, most child advocates would probably frown upon this, but when I was young, my dad used to keep me in a backpack and he'd take me out pheasant hunting with him. My dad always loved to pheasant hunt, so I'd be, 2, 3 years old in the backpack. He's out blasting birds out of the sky. And I'm sure that's frowned upon by most agencies nowadays, but I always heard about the stories. My mom would be mad or whatever, but
Yep.
when he got the fishing rod into my hand, that really sunk in, and I love to fish. And my dad's still alive, thank God, but he was the greatest back when he still is now. But back when I was a kid, he would show up at school, and there would be some mysterious doctor's appointment that I would have to go to. Like I could call down to the principal's office, like your dad's here to take you to the doctor's, and I'm like, look at him, he's just like, we get out to the truck and the boat would be hooked up, the rods would be in the boat, and he's like, hey, they just stocked the trout down at Long Pond over in Plymouth. We go down there and smash some trout or go fishing for some smallmouth somewhere or something. It was always good for that. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, so all the way from a young age, I started fishing tournaments with my dad a lot when his partner couldn't make it, of course. But so I've got some really neat memories of fishing tournaments with my dad out of the bass boat as a really young kid, under 10 or under, I think. And we always did good. My dad's an excellent bass fisherman. He's an excellent fisherman, period. But yeah, it got me hooked. And then, as I grew up and got a little bit older, and I thought I was smarter, I would, luckily my parents, we lived right on a lake, and I would play sick and then hop out onto the dock and fish for an hour or so while my mom was gone before she got back with the other kids getting them to school. So Um, my mom always gave me a bunch of crap for that stuff, but you know how it goes when you got to
Cheating
fish.
the system, yeah.
Oh yeah, there was one time I remember distinctly, like there was I ended up catching it, and we unfortunately when I was young I didn't have the catch and release morals that I have now. I played hooky. I was sick one day, really sick. Mom, I can't get to school, and she went and brought my younger sister and brother to school, and I ran out on the back deck, and I was looking down. I'll never forget this, and there was this monster bass, and they made a nest right at the end of our dock. So I snuck out there, and I had a culprit rubber worm on, and I dropped that thing down in the nest, and that thing came out and smashed it, and I caught it, and I was like, I didn't know what to do because I was so happy, but yet I was scared my mom was gonna bust me. So I put it on a stringer on the dock because I wanted to show my dad when he got home from work. And as I was hanging it on the stringer, I heard my mom coming down the steps to the dock, and of course I spun around. She was there. And she was like, "Oh, I'm real sick," gave me the riot act or whatever. And then I pulled it out of the water, and she was like, "Oh my God, your dad's gonna be crazy over that thing or whatever." She actually helped me. We put it in a cooler, some old like Coleman cooler or something,
Yep.
and we had to. I like we gotta go down and get this thing weighed down at the bait shop. So we did. We put that thing in the cooler. I was still in my pajamas. I'll never forget. I was still in my pajamas. We drove all the way down to Red Top Sporting Goods, is a place down here, and we weighed it, and it was 6'5", and it was like the biggest bass I ever caught at that point. And I was so happy, and I brought it back, but through the whole time of getting it there and back, we didn't have an aerator, and the thing had died on us, and that like crippled me for like 3 or 4 days. And I was in shock for most of the time. And my dad told me, well, if you had done this with the aerator and stuff, and it might have lived. And then I regret it to this day, but I still like that was probably one of my best memories about growing up catching that bass. And then,
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna get it to get back in the water, but it just didn't make it, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I mean, those are learning lessons we have as anglers, but like, I
absolutely.
mean, I have that same kind of story. I caught my biggest smallmouth ever when I was younger, and I was with my grandfather, and I wasn't like huge into fishing at that point. And he's like, "Oh, that thing's huge. Let's bring it home. Let's cook it." And now I look at the pictures, and I look back on it. I'm like, "Dang, I'd love to punch that little kid in the face." Like,
Right. I hear you.
yeah.
Yep.
But nah, it's a good memory to have,
Absolutely.
especially where we're at now. So, in that timeline, when did you start getting into kayak fishing?
So kayak fishing came much later in life for me. Actually, I had bass boats, and I did a lot of bass boat tournaments and stuff growing up. I had a child when I was young. My daughter Alexa, she actually just got married this past year and moved out to California. So she's gone, but so doing there was always time to do some stuff, and she liked to fish with me too. But I concentrated just on bass fishing because kayaking. We had kayaks, and we used to go out as a family, kayak around. Of course, being a fisherman and an angler, I always brought my fishing rod, but we were trying to do family stuff, so I couldn't bring all the stuff I wanted to. So just kind of half-hearted fishing. But um, so yeah, later in life, I got into like some more John boat style tournaments and stuff like that. And I kind of did it as a nostalgic thing because a very close friend of mine died from cancer. And before he died, I got his Coleman Crawdad, a little 12-foot like plastic John boat. But we had fished, and we grew up together, and a few of our friends that were still close. We all grew up, and we all would fish out of that boat here and there. Sometimes we packed 3 or 4 dudes in that little tiny boat. It's crazy. But I still have that boat now. So I started fishing like local clubs and doing stuff like that. And then I actually got hooked up with one of the tournament trails that I actually end up directing now, which is Indy Bassin. And I started fishing with them. I became a member and started fishing some of the trails. And I got hooked up with a guy from New Canoe that was one of the reps from New Canoe. And I saw his pursuit, and I was like, oh my God, that thing's awesome. He had the trolling motor on it and like the whole 9 yards. And I never knew that you could get that far in a kayak and like deck it out like that. So
Yep.
it really piqued my interest, and I asked him to borrow it one time, and I went out and I ran it for a while, and he let me borrow it for like a week or something. And like from that point on, it was like, all right. So I had some old town kayaks, some paddle dry and stuff like that, and it was like they're all right, but they didn't impress me. So after I get in that new canoe for a while, he actually got me hooked up with actually new canoe, and Blake Young, and we started talking, and eventually he picked me up as one of his guys, and actually sponsored me. From that point forward, I started fishing out of the kayak exclusively all the time. That was like 3 years ago. Mostly just like the local club stuff, and then I would get into it, whatever tournaments I could, as much as I could, because I'm addicted, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all I do is kayaking and fishing, and there's really not much room for hunting here and there. Yes, but if I get time, normally I'm in the kayak.
Yeah, I hear you. For me, yeah, fishing comes first, obviously. But you know, when did you start doing like? I mean, I'm not too familiar with the NE Bassin, but is that mainly a kayak only series then?
No, actually, any bass is. Hello.
You there?
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah, so any bassin has actually multiple divisions. We're through Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Kind of like the leader in around the region here. I think we have over like 130 tournaments a year combined through all the states. And again, multiple divisions. We do have bass boat divisions, the big boat divisions. Then we have our team divisions where you and I could be a team. We go out and fish against other teams, separate kayaks, separate boats. When you're allowed a 15-foot John boat or less, or any size kayak, canoe.
Oh,
We have a couple of guys that fish out of like a rubber raft type of deals, not raft, but like a kind of like a Zodiac thing, but lesser of a scale. Um, Basically anything you can have up to a 70-pound thrust trolling motor or less. So yeah, I mean, it's local, but it's expanded, so it's pretty large. I think we have like a little over 400 members total. Um, and like I said, I started in that 3 years ago, and it's like more of a family atmosphere. Like I've become friends with a lot of the guys all through the whole entire organization.
yeah, that's pretty sweet. So how is
Yeah,
it?
it's a cool thing.
Yeah, how is it being a tournament director for that?
It's busy. I just finished up my 2020 trail schedule. I posted that a couple of days ago or yesterday, I think. And as a tournament director, and it's kind of a hit or miss, or not hit or miss, but a hate or love relationship. Especially being involved with a KBF and that stuff. So when the tournaments are run on like a KBF scale, and you scale it down to more of a local sized club trail with much less anglers, I try and incorporate as much as I can from what I see through all the different clubs and stuff that I do fish with into my trail. I direct the Cape Cod Kayak Series. We hold 6 events each year. And it's difficult because you want to try and get different water every year to fish. You've got a bunch of members that want to fish in the slot. You got a bunch of members that want to fish in the nice, cold, deep water. You got, so I try and blend all that together to try and get everybody, a fair shot at it. And it's just like any other series where we track all the points. You earn Angler of the Year points. If you win your division, stuff like that. We're also a KBF member, so our top, I think it's 5% go to a bid to the national championship if you're lucky enough to make it there. So
That's awesome. Yeah, is it still the same like I don't know if you guys use Tourney X then?
we don't use Tourney X. We although we have a couple of series this year that are going to go to Tourney X, but for the most part, we use the hog trough. Same thing, catch, photo, release. At the end of the tournament, because like I said, it's a smaller scale. I think there's probably 23 or 24 guys that fish on my trail. You bring your phone up. visually check your fish. I just grab somebody randomly that's in the tournament, bring them up to judge fish with me, so there's no any
bias. Yeah.
I try to make it fair for everybody, and then we work it out at the end. The same thing, total inches, most of the same deductions. The blurry photo, fish not closed in the mouth, things like that. So.
Have you guys thought of implementing that TourneyX system where you guys can use the app or the website to kind of submit their fish to kind of make your job a little easier then? Not that,
Yeah, like I said, we have a couple of divisions that are starting to experience that this year. One of the divisions down in Connecticut is going to do like an MLF style where you're allowed to submit 22 fish. I think it's the limit on TourneyX. So that's going to be neat. I'll let those guys work out those bugs before I head into that. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's such a great TourneyX. The whole TourneyX system is such a great system that I think eventually you're going to see even the smallest local clubs go into that format. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's. I know for me from experience in New York using it. I know my trail NYKBF has used it since the beginning, and it's been so beneficial for at least for tournament directors because they can go in right through their as a TD with their profile and go and grade each person's fish. And if you want to implement that with your trail, I can get you in touch with all the tournament directors from NYKBF who know how to create that and make it an easier environment for all anglers to use. They're good buddies of mine. They're great guys to work with, and they'll help you actually create that tournament. Series for you on TourneyX and can make it a little bit easier on you and all the other anglers competing if you're interested in doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I don't see any reason why there's not to do
Yeah.
that. So I definitely explore that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, any reason to make it the experience a little bit easier and better for everybody, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So are you one last question about being a tournament director, I promise.
Yeah, it's fun.
Are you a TD for just the kayak side, or do you kind of cover all the bases then?
No, I basically do just the kayak. Last year I directed 2 trails, and that was like craziness. I directed a team trail and I directed the Cape Cod Kayak Series. And that was just bananas. Just too much to do with the whole KBF schedule, and then 2 trail schedules here, plus random tournaments here and there. So I went down to just directing the Cape Cod Series this year. And during we also hold a giant regional event where we get all the anglers and we'll randomly pick a lake in whatever state and we go there for the regional finals. We'll have 50, 100, whatever, however many anglers at that event. No, I'll help run those events with the other directors too.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically, I stay in my own lane, but I help out if needed.
That's awesome. I'm sure you get to meet a lot of people, a lot of different personalities, different places.
Yeah,
that's gonna be pretty sweet.
Cool, man. That's one of the things that I enjoy the most about being a director, because I like to talk to people. I like to, you never know when you're gonna meet somebody that could end up being your best friend for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and more connections you meet and more positive relationships you create can help you out in the long run for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, because you are the 2019 KBF Rookie of the Year, you must have fished a good number of KBF events then.
I'd like to say that I did, but I only fished 4.
Okay, so you must have done damn well in those.
I did, and what happened was I wanted to go to Lake. The season started off in Lake Anna. Work conflict, I just couldn't make it there. So I ended up my first KBF tournament ever. Was at Lake George.
Okay, yeah, New York.
I love that place. It's probably I've never been there before. I had never been there before. Good buddy of mine is a country music singer. His name is Rob Pagnano. I don't know if you guys have. I'm sure everybody's heard of him. But like we go everywhere, and people are like, "Oh my God, it's Rob Pagnano." Anyways, him and I traveled a lot together, and we fish all over the country. But we decided let's start there. And because he wanted to do the same thing, it's always easier to split costs if you're traveling,
Yeah, definitely.
So we travel all over because it's cheaper. We went to Lake George. We got there early. I think like 3 days early or whatever, because we'd never been there. Wanted to do some pre-fishing, trying to eliminate some water. And like that place is phenomenal. I think we fished Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, between the two of us, we caught probably 200 bass, and it was insane. You know what I mean? And it was like I kept looking at him like, is this the right lake? I mean, this can't be this good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we didn't expect much. The water temperature was 48, 49 degrees. But the smallmouth and the largemouth were eating like everywhere we went. And it's like, oh, this must be the only spot in the lake. And then I'd go 2 miles down the lake and I would do the same thing there. It was insane. I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
And being the first tournament that I fished with KBF, I was new to the format. But I had fished some of the monthlies, so I got used to that. But yeah, I literally pulled up on my spot on tournament day, and I caught my limit on the first 5 casts. I had like 83 inches or something on the first 5 casts.
Sheesh.
It was insane. You know what I mean? Like I pulled up, and it was like a couple minutes before first cast, and I said a prayer, and unfortunately my sister had passed away the month before that, and I keep her little card with me everywhere I go in every tournament, and said a prayer with her, and then like it was like all of a sudden the light switch turned on. I literally picked up a jerk bait and fired it out there on the first cast. I got like a, I don't know, 18 and a half inch smallmouth or something. And it was like, and it was every cast for like 4 hours. And it was crazy, you know what I mean? And then I said, well, I want to burn this place up, so I'm going to go to one of the other spots. I went there, and I mean, on tournament day, I caught 60 plus bass. At one point, I was on one rock pile, and I was catching them on a jig, and there was another angler that pulled up, and I wish I had got his name. We were talking. He just pulled up and put his anchor down. I was on the GPS anchor on my trolling motor, and he put his anchor down. He said, "You mind if I just watch? I've seen you catch like 15 fish in a row." I said, "Yeah, whatever. You know, you can cast, dude. No, I'm not going to be in your spot. Blah blah blah." You know, I appreciate it. Again, I wish we had talked more and got his name, but he sat there and watched me catch probably 20 bass on 20 casts, and he was just amazed. And he's like, "You got to fish here all the time." I said, I have never been to this place since Wednesday. I said, but every place I go is just like this. It's insane.
Yeah.
And you know, it just, at the end of the day, I couldn't get the upgrades that I needed. I finished well. I ended up finishing sixth. So it went well. But I was like, you know, kicking myself like, man, I wish I had spent more time finding a larger group of fish. Because I was lucky. I didn't lose any fish. I fished very clean. Like I said, I smashed them. I had 60 plus fish at least. But it was fun. You know what I mean? And that was like, from that point on, I was like, all right, now it's time to concentrate. And because Rob and I were talking, and it was like, you know, it'd be great to get a top 10 finish in our first, you know, I think Rob finished 16th too, and which was good. We were both very proud of that. And then we decided to set our sights on going down to Maryland. I think that was next, Maryland. Yeah. Down to the upper Chesapeake, which we had never been to. And that was another story all in itself. I made reservations, rented a cabin down there in one of the state parks, and we did the same thing. Let's go there. So Tuesday night, we left at midnight and drove through the night. Got down there at like 7 in the morning. I think it was 8 in the morning. And we launched, and it was blazing hot. There was no breeze, no nothing. And I didn't catch a fish the whole entire day. I didn't even get a bite the whole day. And it was like, oh my goodness, we are in serious trouble. I think Rob caught like one 12-inch fish. And then at 1 o'clock, we were due to check in at 2 o'clock to the cabin. And at 1 o'clock, this lady calls me. She says, "Hi, Mr. Brundle. I just wanted to let you know that I have to cancel your reservation." I'm like, wait a minute, what? I felt like, you know, like remember that show Punk'd? Like, I thought I was you know what I mean? So I'm like, you gotta be kidding me or whatever. She's like, "Yeah, unfortunately, the cabin's not ready for you." I'm like, so I was like mad. So I'm like, you know what? Listen, I'm packing up all my stuff and I'm coming there and we're gonna get this straightened out. And I apologized to the lady once I found her when I got there after I found out what happened. But I was rude. I was upset, you know. Plus, I was tired of driving all night. It was super hot. Um,
Yeah.
So the woman ended up calling me as we were driving over there, and she said, "Listen, I got you another reservation at a different state park. Go over there. We'll have your cabin ready in a couple of days, and then you can come back and finish over here." I said, "Okay, that's fine." I apologized or whatever, and we went to the other state park, which was Susquehanna State Park. It's up in the
Yep.
river somewhere, and we went and fished the next day, and I think I caught one bass, and it was like 11 inches. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is terrible. I don't know what to do." So Friday came, and I said to Rob, I said, "Well, let's try one more place." And we went over, and like I think we had to be off the water by 3 or something like that. And I think at like 2 o'clock, I caught like 5 fish in a row, and it was crazy. And I was like, "All right, well, at least I know where we can start for the tournament." We had no ifs, ands, or any other way to do anything. So we packed all of our stuff up, and we headed over to the place that we were originally supposed to stay in. And when we got over there, it looked like a bomb had gone off. There was a freak tornado that blew through this campground and just leveled everything. The cabin we were supposed to stay in was leveled. It was completely leveled. So when we got over there, lady's like, "The reason why I called you at 1 is because we started cutting our way into that way. They had to cut all the down trees and everything. It took them 2 days to get there to know that the cabin was destroyed." So,
gosh.
so here we are. The cabin was destroyed. We only caught a couple of fish. Tournament day, we just said, "Well, let's get over to that. I think it was Furnace Bay is where we went. We went over to Furnace Bay, and we launched there. There was a bunch of people that launched there. Not to mention there was like a bass boat tournament going on. So there was like 20 bass boats, a bunch of people in there, a bunch of kayakers in there. And the thing about the Upper Chesapeake is that it's a tidal river. So the tide was completely opposite of when I caught those fish. So I ran as fast as I could all the way down to that spot, and there was no water there. There was like 3 inches of water there.
Gosh.
So I didn't know what to do. I got lucky. I found some fish that were on some weed beds out in the middle of the bay, and caught my limit probably on like 10 casts, and then fished for the rest of the day. Luckily, I ended up finished 4th on that one. So that worked out good. Rob ended up finishing 9th or 10th, I believe. So it worked out good for both of us. Then we moved on to what came after that. Oh, I couldn't make it to East West Harbor because bless you, because work was like crazy. So I had to skip that one, and then we ended up going to Lake Winnipesaukee, which is like my back door, basically.
Yep.
But I've never fished in a boat in Lake Winnipesaukee. I waded around the shore as a kid when I was up there with my uncles and stuff,
Yeah, big smallmouth lake, right?
What's that?
Big smallmouth lake, right?
Yeah. Yep. There's good largemouth in there too if you can find them. So we, my wife ended up coming with us because she had been wanting to go. So I went and bought a camper so we'd have enough room for everybody. So it was our first trip with the camper. We towed the camper out there. We had a blast. People in the campground recognized Rob, of course, and he's got his guitar with him. So next thing you know, there's a concert at our campsite. It was pretty wild, but we had some good practice days. We found the fish, got out there, and I made a long run on the opening day, like probably 4 miles from where I launched from. Jeez. And the trolling motor on high.
There you go.
Took me like 58 minutes to get there. But we caught the fish in there, and I think I ended up 4th at Winnipesaukee as well. And then went out to Lake Erie for the regional finals, and the weather was nasty. It was ugly. I've been a whole life saying I gotta go to Lake Erie and catch smallmouth there. I never caught a smallmouth while I was there. But I didn't get out to the main Lake Erie. I stayed in Crocodile Bay because not knowing the water and knowing how rough the water was outside in the main lake, only the guys that really knew that area were going out to the main lake because they knew there was little spots they could tuck away and catch fish. but it's Lake Erie. I mean, that's like fishing in the ocean.
Yeah.
You got to land on them. So I was lucky enough to find some fish the last day of practice, and on one seawall there, and I spent both days there. Ended up coming in second for the regional finals. So that was my four
That's awesome.
4 tournaments for the year. So
Yeah, you killed it.
yeah, it was awesome, man. It was a great experience, and I'm really looking forward to this year.
Good.
I started the year off with the one goal of making the national championship, which luckily I won the first state challenge in April. So I had like kind of knocked off the whole, I got to make the thing, you know what I mean? So I think that helped just kind of fish easy for the rest of the year. Not that it was easy, but easy on my brain, you know?
Yeah. Did you end up going down to the state championship then?
What's that?
Did you end up going down to the state championship then?
Well, the national championship will be in April.
Oh, right. It's coming up. Yeah.
But yeah, actually, now that you say that, I ended up winning or I co-won. I was a co-winner of the state championship here in Mass with
Nice.
another angler in KBF. So,
Nice.
yeah, which was cool because then we got out to the Trail Series Championship in Wisconsin at La Crosse, which was also the Challenge Series Championship. I ended up finishing 10th in the Challenge Series Championship and 12th. I think it was 12th in the Trail Series Championship.
Nice.
Pretty good year overall. I was happy with it, to say the least. And then ended up being third in AOI points for the year for the country. So
Nice.
that was cool because then I immediately made it into the 10, which I'm getting ready for. It'll be coming up here in January, the end of January, down in the Kissimmee chain down in Florida. So that'll be awesome.
That's gonna be a blast.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get down there.
Oh, I bet. That's my biggest regret is I let college. I mean, I obviously put college first, which in my mind is a good decision, but in also my mind, one of my big regrets was not going down to the national championships. 2 years ago, I was only able to do one tournament out on Cayuga Lake in New York because I had to go for an internship to complete my bachelor's degree. I coached at a sports camp for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So I could only do Cayuga Lake, and I ended up. It was the only tournament I could do that whole summer. Ended up winning that one. I won it from the first cast was at 7 o'clock. I could have gotten off the water and relaxed the rest of the day by 7:30. I caught 3:19.5 and a 19.75 that first half an hour. So it was, oh my gosh, it was an amazing day. But I qualified for the national championship through that.
Yep.
But of course, I couldn't go down because I let school get in the way. But I wish I went down. And then this past year, same deal. Mainly just because work-wise, I wanted to build up my budget for coming here to Notre Dame. So because I don't get paid for this internship that I'm working for. So I fished one tournament on Little Sodas Bay. Ended up getting second in that, and that was a crazy story. I was winning it the whole day. And then one of my buddies wasn't catching the fish he wanted. So I'm like, hey, I'm catching him in my spot. Why don't you come over? And of course, he ends up winning it because I invited him to my spot. But, I qualified through that. But little did I know you had to be a member of KBF, and I wasn't a KBF member. So I qualified, but I didn't qualify. So it's whatever. But that's one of my things I want to cross off my list is hopefully I land in a spot this spring where I get the job where I can fish those tournaments, and then hopefully, time wise works out where I can go fish the national championship. That's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
I want to get down there.
Man, I mean, you're doing it right anyways. I mean, you got to put your education first for sure. I mean, that's later on in life, that's gonna come into play for sure.
That's what they tell you, but my mind's like,
you're gonna keep swimming no matter what happens. So
this is true. This is true.
You gotta take care of numero uno at one point, and then the rest of the fun stuff later. I totally agree with that, and that's I'm definitely looking forward to the national championship this year coming up down at Lake Gunnersville. I've always wanted to go there. You know what I mean? And
oh heck yeah.
Yeah, so we got the camper, so we're gonna hook that thing up and drag it down probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 days ahead of time. So we got plenty of time to fish down there and hang out and just take in the whole national championship experience. I'm pumped for that too. It's gonna be a good time.
Oh heck yeah, yeah. I'll have my Tourney X feed on live, and I'll be refreshing that puppy 100 times a day. Between you and a few other buddies that I have going down there, I'll be keeping tabs on all you guys, rooting for y'all.
Yeah,
Uh,
appreciate it.
yeah, and one thing that's on my radar for this summer that I might try to get into is the new Bassmaster kayak series that's coming
Absolutely.
out. I know New York they don't have any opens, like just individual tournaments this summer is what I'm being told so far, if my information is correct. But they'll just have a simple championship series that I think leads into a national championship. I could be entirely wrong. I don't think all the information's out there yet, but
Right.
that's like one thing I'm kind of looking into is if I'm still in New York, maybe just enter that and go one shot, one hit wonder. But we'll
I
see.
hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some stuff floating around the other day about that, and I think there is going to be something in New York that um, will be like a partner series
Mhm.
that you can join Kayak Bass Nation, New York, and they'll have a qualifier for the Bassmaster Classic 2021. Um, can't remember who I saw it with, but there is definitely some information floating around out there about that. Um, I'm actually going to probably either try and do that, or more likely I'll probably go out to La Crosse, Wisconsin, because they're going to have an event out there. I think it's August 15th. And there's no KBF events in August scheduled as of right now. Uh,
Yeah.
I have one of my local tournaments scheduled in August, so I'm hoping it won't conflict with that. But we went out to La Crosse for the Trail Series Championship and the Challenge Series Championship with KBF this year. October it was, I think, and that place is awesome. I don't know if you've ever been out there, but like it was amazing fishing. I had a blast. I'd love to go back, and I know they're gonna do an event including the same pools that I fished in. So I already kind of have an idea where I could fish.
Yep.
So I might go out there and try and do my one hit wonder thing out there and try and get, because I'd love to get, I mean, growing up as a bass fisherman, who hasn't thought of themselves being in the Bassmaster Classic? You know what I mean? That's like the ultimate thing ever.
You're getting me fired up over here, and it's December.
Oh yeah, believe me, I hear you. Like snow on the ground out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going to be 20 degrees here tomorrow. Um, but it never leaves my mind. Like fishing, doing this, doing that, dealing with sponsors, and finding out all this information. Talking to people like yourself. I talk to people all over the country. And actually, I was talking to Jeff Isham this morning or this afternoon on my ride home. And he's down in Texas, and he was, we were talking about doing some wraps on the kayaks, and he said, "Well, what's the water temperature out there, Derek?" I said, "I haven't been out in like 2 weeks, but I think it's right around 40 degrees, 38, 40 degrees." He just went, "Oh my goodness." He's like, we're down here in Texas, and of course they're like, "Yeah, okay, here we go down here in Texas."
Yeah.
But he said, a lot of his power plant lakes, the water's like 78 degrees right now.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh, what I wouldn't give for 78 degrees right now.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we do have some places around here that are spring fed that they don't ice over,
Yeah.
or they get a very skim layer. Like last year, I know myself and another one of the new canoe guys, we were out on this pond we have around here that's spring fed, and we were out smashing 4 or 5 pounders on January 1st.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I'm hoping that,
Send me your location.
this place is like 5 feet deep. It's spring fed. It's crystal clear, and you can see them swimming from a long ways off, and you can catch them on a jerkbait if you're lucky. But yeah, I mean it's fun. But like the people that live on on the pond are looking out there like, these two idiots out here in the middle of January in kayaks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
That's awesome.
when it's like a drug addict. You got to get the fix. You got to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And if I'm not doing that, I'm drilling a hole through the ice and fishing through that if I have
There you
to.
go.
I'd rather be in the kayak for sure.
Yeah. I can't wait to. I've never actually really took ice fishing seriously. I've only been actually once, so I'm kind of looking forward to getting into that, depending on where I am. But One thing I kind of want to discuss with you and get your opinion on, with this Bassmaster Kayak Series coming out and having KBF, obviously KBF's at that larger scale on a kayak industry,
Mhm.
but do you see them competing, or do you see them kind of helping each other rise up? I mean, I've been on a text thread with Chad Hoover, and he said he thinks how this is going to help KBF, bring more attention to it
Yeah.
with the legitimacy of it. But what do you think?
I think the same thing that you just said as far as what Chad said. I think that it's going to help propel KBF because if you look at it, KBF has been there, throughout the whole thing, and they've built this whole pedestal up to where guys are, considering possibly making a career out of this thing. And Chad has been pushing for stuff like that for a long time. And with the whole you know, the way Chad had put it out there with sponsorship deals and things like that for kayak anglers and the opportunities to showcase what they can do on a bigger scale, um, really, I think made it, I don't want to use the word, but quote unquote popular to be
Mhm.
a kayak fisherman and like travel around and do this on these bigger lakes where it was unheard. People don't take kayaks on Chickamauga, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Gunnersville. That's not what you do. But it can happen, and some fishermen, and most of us are good fishermen, can make it happen on those big lakes.
Hmm.
And who doesn't want to fish those bucket list lakes like that? And then to do it in a tournament, if you're a tournament junkie like I am, or you are, or
Hmm.
anybody that's into it, that is the whole thrill of the gamble of going out and having the chance to win. Even if it's only 100, 200, 300, 400, whatever, however much the payout is, um, it makes it that much sweeter and that much more of a challenge, at least in my eyes. But getting back to your topic, that definitely think that now that you're seeing like Bass come out here and do this huge announcement of how they're going to open their own kayak league, and you got, like I said, KBF that's been there for a while. Now you got some other stuff like Hobie, the Bass Open Series that's coming up and getting larger every year.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's only going to help all of us grow, not only as like a community or an organization like KBF or BASS. Not that they need any growth, but uh, but I think it'll draw more attention um, to KBF and people feeling more comfortable, maybe even using it not to downplay KBF, but maybe even using it as a launching point. Like if I start here and I can be successful in this area, maybe I can move to this higher level type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that there'll be a lot of opportunity with that. And I think as it becomes more popular, and I think that as um, the BASS thing becomes more popular, then you'll see maybe even like MLF coming into the picture and doing something on their own. There was a quote floating around, and I wish I remember where I saw it, but it was out of, I think, the director of BASS Kayak Nation. And he said, it doesn't take much to look around and see a kayak in somebody's truck or a kayak strapped to somebody's car top, even being pulled on a bicycle trailer down the road.
Yep.
Um, so that's how much kayak has grown, or kayak fishing has grown.
Yep.
And I think due in part to a lot of that of Chad Hoover and KBF. Um, and I think that seeing how popular KBF has gotten has made these larger organizations think like, okay, well, maybe there's something in this. Maybe this
Hmm.
is something we can move towards and actually do this on a big national level. And with that, who doesn't want their name in BASS?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be up in the national spotlight? Um, I was at first I was really upset because I saw the schedule and I was like, man, there's no way I can fish those. There's one
Hmm.
in Cali, there's one way down in Texas. I think Chickamauga was one, and then there's some other ones. And then I saw lacrosse. I'm like, you know what? That was a brutal trip. I am not gonna lie. We drove, myself, Rob, and my wife. We drove 23 hours, I think it was, or 22
Oh
hours
my
straight.
gosh.
We never stopped. We stopped for gas and then go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Drove there straight. We fished for like one day of pre-fishing. We did the tournament. After the award ceremony, we literally packed the stuff in the truck and then drove straight back. My wife is a teacher, so she had to get back, so she didn't miss school. So it was brutal, man. It was a brutal grind.
Yeah, the last thing I want to do after a tournament is drive, let alone 23 hours.
I hear you. And like literally, we fished. We got up at like 3:30 in the morning, got ready, got to the lake, launched, got out there, fished hard, went to the award ceremony, and then just left.
Oh my gosh,
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
It was crazy, man. And and I think that the drive to do this is what made us want to do that. And I think the drive, like, as soon as I saw, to get back to what I was saying, as soon as I saw that BASS had this whole, scenario coming out with the kayak series, the first thing I instantly thought is, are they going to do a Bassmaster Classic? Because if they are, I will totally lose my stuff. So, and then they announced that they were going to do a 2021 Bassmaster Classic. You could, pretty much share the stage with all the big name pros. And, again, like I said earlier, a bucket item of mine. So I'm going to try any way I can to get there just to do that, just to have the experience of doing that. Not to mention, if you do well or you meet the right, like we were talking about earlier, if you meet the right connections, there's that whole thing where you can form some relationships, possible sponsorships, and even just personal relationships as well. So, to answer your question, I know I went on a big long tangent there, but I really do think that they're going to help each other. And I don't see, I've had plenty of conversations with Chad, and of course I can't speak for Chad, but he is so invested in this, and he wants everyone to succeed and at such a level like he is at, then I don't see how it could possibly go anywhere but up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think his drive, and then of course Joe and all the other people at KBF that put in all the work that they do, there's no way it'll fail. You know what I mean? I think it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it would be my hope that you would see them competing and their name would always be up there with BASS. And if MLF did something, then you'd have to choose from like KBF or ML, you know what I mean? All these different organizations. So I think it's great. I think that it'll definitely help both series for sure.
Yeah, I think that Bass label, that logo being slapped onto the kayak bass fishing industry is just going to help in immensely.
Absolutely.
I think in the long run, I think it can create, if it really takes off like they're hoping to, I think it could create a lot of competition for KBF.
Yes.
But I think if Chad keeps handling it the way he does and he gets more people on his team, I think they can run away with it and become, the gold standard in bass fishing, at least for kayak bass fishing. It's going to be hard to compete with boats. You're not going to have the payouts that the boat series will have. But and then again, the cost of being an angler in, the Bassmasters or the MLF is entirely different than, being an angler, say, if you're just trying to fish the KBF level. If you're on that national level, you don't have the boat maintenance expenses. You don't have the boat gas, and all the electronics. You might have, if a guy in a kayak has two graphs, all the more power to him. But that's overkill in my opinion. But we don't have the costs of that. We might, buy some spare parts for a pedal drive or for your trolling motor. Chargers for batteries. That's really the only cost we have aside from travel. Travel and living costs. But as many of you guys seen, travel costs can be, like housing, like lodge. Obviously in the winter months it's pretty tough and pre-spawn. But lodging can be very cheap if you're smart about it.
Absolutely.
So I think it's going to be a great way for people who are worried financially to pursue that dream of being, an angler full time. So I think it's awesome. I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of people. I, for one, even though I'm going to be struggling with student loans, and we'll see how the job goes, but I would like to get into that. But we'll see where the road takes us. So.
No, I think that's one of the biggest draws about kayak tournament bass fishing is that you can get into it relatively cheap and be competitive. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, all of us have the dream of having whatever brand kayak you like the most, and whatever brand electronics, 2 graphs or not, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do whatever you want and be as expensive as you want, or you can still be competitive and be as minimal as you need to be.
Yeah.
And either way works, and that's what I think what makes the kayak tournament fishing so much more of a draw and so much more, like you said, realistic and tangible than the bass boat series. I mean, who has $100,000 to go out and spend on a bass boat and then maintain that $100,000 bass boat? You know, that's that's a crazy nut to crack every month if you're,
Yeah.
if you're spending money on that all the time. I mean, I knew I had a bass boat. I sold it because I never used it. I use my kayak all the time now, and it's like, well, I might as well get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
That's why we ended up buying the camper, because why have something we don't use that sits in the yard, looks pretty, but at least a camper we can take with us and then use it even, on other stuff too. So
Yeah, definitely. It's
yeah,
going to be just interesting to see the road that kayak bass fishing goes down, but I don't see it ever slowing down in my mind. I
yeah,
see it, taking off. But it's going to be interesting. There's so much you could say right now, but I mean, the only thing that's really going to happen is to wait to see what actually happens rather than kind of speculate. But
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad, and that's one of the things that I was talking to my wife about the other day. I'm very happy to be at what I call like the infancy stage of this whole thing. Not that it is. I mean, not that kayak bass fishing is new or anything like that, but I think right now is at one of the most exciting times for that stage where it's about to blow up. And I think that a lot of people are seeing that. So I think it's only going to come like this year coming up, and next year they're just going to explode with more and more guys wanting to compete. And with more and more guys wanting to compete, then the tournaments grow, then the payouts grow, and the whole competition level grows. And then along with that, that grows national attention, which draws, some of these bigger name sponsors in,
hmm
and you're going to see that whole evolution that took place with the whole bass boat thing back in the 70s and 80s as that started to grow to
yeah,
what it is now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think that's where we're at right now. So it's a really neat time to be involved with all of that. And I'm excited, man. Every time I talk about fishing, I get all giddy and,
I'm getting all jazzed up over here. Yeah. So kind of moving forward, kind of want to allot you some time to shout out your pro staff and your social media. So I'm sure everybody would love to hear about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people know that I'm with Team New Canoe. I believe that they build the finest kayaks out there. I know it's arguable some people, and I've argued with them, and then I've just kind of let them take over. But I love my New Canoe Pursuit. Um, I just love the way it's customizable. It's the stability. It's a great kayak. Um, and when it comes down to um, the sponsorship level, and it's more of, like being a part of New Canoe is more of a part of being a family. I can pick up the phone right now and call Blake, the owner, and just have a chat with him. I do it all the time. We're always chit chatting about nothing in particular, but and I love
Yeah.
the feel that I get being a part of that. So that's been really great. Again, like I said, I got picked up by them like 3 years ago, and I don't see that ever going away. I actually just brought home another kayak yesterday. I always got all the models now. I'm just missing a flint. Um, but I really love being involved like that. Like I say, doing demos and taking people out and letting them try out the kayaks and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's awesome.
it's neat. So also have a sponsorship with Tight Lines Worldwide, which is a great apparel company, really geared towards supporting first responders, police, fire, military. Great company to be involved with. Also just got involved with exotic high performance rods, which I'm really happy about. So that's really something that I'll be um, flaunting, so to speak, this year. But something
Yep.
that really excited me because the rods are like top notch. I mean, they're unbelievable. Um, and there's a bunch of companies out there like Amphibia Eye Gear. they sponsor me as well. Great sunglasses, polarized glasses that if you drop them, God forbid, they float. Thank goodness, because I'm stupid like that and I drop stuff in the water all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, great sunglasses. And Amped Outdoors is my battery sponsor, lithium batteries. I don't know if you guys have ever tried them. They're great. Great company to deal with as well. And of course, Motor Guide. I love my Motor Guide. Everybody always hears me talking about my Motor Guide XI3 on the front of my Pursuit. With the pinpoint GPS, I mean, that is a game changer for me. I can literally pull up on one rock out in the middle of the lake and hit the button, and it keeps you there. You don't have to paddle. You don't have to back pedal. You don't have to drop your anchor, nothing. You just fish, do whatever you got to do. That's been a huge thing for me. And I think that goes more along the lines of like confidence. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And then, like I said, Lake Winnipesaukee, 4 miles down the lake, and I think it was 58 or 59 minutes that I made it there. And you don't get fatigued. You might get a sore thumb every once in a while from pressing the buttons left or right. That's about it.
Yep.
Beast Coast Fishing, that makes some incredible fishing tackle. Castaic lures, Katana hooks, reaction strike lures, all some of my great sponsors. I mean, there's a pile of them, and I'm very thankful for all of them, because you spend so much time on the water, you spend so much money in gear and traveling, like you say. Having these guys backing me and these companies backing me is really a huge blessing for me. Helps with many different ways, not only in the financial aspect, but like I said, the confidence aspect, knowing that you've got great gear, knowing that you've got a great kayak. Been great. And I'm really concentrating this year on promoting them as much as I can, both through social media, and I've got to get started my YouTube channel last year or the year before, but just haven't put enough time into it like I should. I'm knowing that what you do is, how much it takes to get all the stuff together, and then editing videos, and there's so much time involved, and I do need to make some more time for that. And that's YouTube channel is 508 Outdoors. If you want to go check that out, please feel free.
It'll be linked down in the description for everybody.
And my Instagram, Fish Freak DJB. And then, just me on Facebook is basically just my name. And I, basically I'm an old school dude. Like before I, got on the new canoe, I really wasn't a Facebook and Instagram kind of guy, but it comes along with the territory, and and it's fun. And now my wife tells me all the time, "Hey, get off your damn phone" or whatever. But getting into the social media like I have actually has been a good thing, because I meet a lot of folks like yourself and people that I don't normally get in touch with or stay in touch with. It's easier, every once in a while I shoot them a message or whatever. But yeah, it's been great. I mean, as far as all that goes, I couldn't be happier right now. Really looking forward to this year coming up. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I actually sat down and mapped out my tournament schedule for this year, and I've got a little over 16,000 miles to put on.
Oh my gosh!
It's gonna be busy. Yeah, it's gonna start.
You're gonna be a busy man.
It's gonna start with the 10 down in Kissimmee, and that's in January, and then I'll be at Santee Cooper in February, down in South Carolina. Then the national championships at Gunnersville in April. Then Lake George in New York. I cannot wait to get back to that place. Man, I'm telling you what. Then High Rock down in North Carolina in May. Potomac River in Virginia in June, which is on my birthday. So that's like a sign I have to win that one.
There you go.
All right. Then Susquehanna River. I can't wait to fish that one. It's up in Hershey, I think it is. So that's small heaven up there. Then out to East West Harbin, Ohio. And then basically, so KBF, had dropped down all their regional events to like 3 events per region, I think now, or at least in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. So that would leave us with our Northeast region finals. Will be up at Waterville, Maine in September. And then if I qualify for the Mid-Atlantic region, that'll be down at Smith Mountain Lake, which I've always wanted to fish there too, down in Virginia. That place is supposed to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're left with the Northeast Region Trail Series Championship. Hopefully the regional finals for the Mid-Atlantic too. Plus I have my whole tournament trail that I direct here on the Cape. So that is going to be a great tournament. We've got some really cool sponsors for that trail this year, so the guys are going to make out well there. And then, like I say, hopefully this whole thing in New York works out for the BASS Nation, and I can get out there and give myself a chance to qualify for the Bassmaster Classic. That would be, like, obviously a huge bucket list. I don't know if or when that's going to happen. If it has happened before August and I qualify, then I might not go to La Crosse, but pretty much I'm going to go to La Crosse.
Nice.
And fish the Bass Nation one out there, because that place is awesome. And like I said, I want to try. I wish I didn't have a real job. Let's put it that way, because I would go and fish every tournament everywhere. I've got a great wife. She supports me, and she's like, just go and do it. Just go and do it. So, which is rare.
Yeah,
which is rare.
Awesome.
So I'm lucky. But so yeah, I mean, hopefully, maybe we revisit again at the end of the year or even middle of the year or something, and we talk about how it's going. But
heck yeah.
I'm hoping by the end of the year I could say that I finished well in KBF, and then I made it to the Bassmaster Classic 2021. That would be the ultimate goal.
I hope that happens for you. I hope I can make the time, and hopefully I'll join you in that. But
that would be awesome.
Yeah. No, that's amazing, man. That's some goals. It's good to see you going after that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you got to set goals even if they seem unattainable. Just got to keep moving forward on it,
Yeah, got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's a fact.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of moving into my favorite segment where we kind of talk about some fun questions, something a little bit different. I say this every podcast, it's my favorite question, but if you were to take any 3 people to dinner, just kind of sit down, just talk to them, pick the brains, whatever, any 3 people, past, present, who would it be?
Like famous people?
It can be whoever you want. It can be famous, can be absolutely anybody. Doesn't even have to be fishing related if you don't want.
All right, that is a good question. I guess I've never really thought about it. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have dinner with my wife all the time, so I'm going to eliminate her from this. But I have a very close knit group of friends, so I'd have to say my buddy Matt Conant, this will be his rookie year in KBF this year coming up. So definitely Matt, my buddy Rob Pagnano. We have a good time no matter what we do. Kind of a simple dude, so I guess I don't know. I would definitely love to sit down to dinner with Kevin Van Dam.
Kevin Van Dam, okay. No, would you believe it if you're the first person that has said KVD so far?
No.
You're going to be the 16th podcast, and you're the first one to say KVD.
Really? Yeah, he's been my hero forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get a lot of Greg Hackney's.
Yeah.
Josh Douglas a couple times, Mike Iaconelli's, like stuff like that. First KVD though.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind sitting down with Wheeler either. Jacob Wheeler, I like Jacob Wheeler. So, yeah, I mean that'd be all right.
Nice. I like that. All right, so the way I kind of wrap up my podcast is it's a simple question, but it's a question that Tip was going to mean a lot to people. But your favorite fishing memory?
I would say my favorite fishing memory. My daughter's gonna kill me for this one, but my daughter used to fish with me a lot, and we were out fishing one time, and she put on a jerk bait, and she went to cast as hard as she could, and she hooked herself in the back of the calf.
Oh, geez.
With both treble hooks, and
Oh, my God.
I thought it was just in her pants. I was pulling at it, and it was stuck in her calf.
Oh, my God.
And I think she was 13 or 14 at the time, and she's like, "Dad, I think it's in my leg." I'm like, "Oh, quit your bitching," you know what I mean? It's not in your leg. So I'm pulling at the thing, and then I realized it is in her leg. So I started being real careful, and I worked it out. We took the treble hooks out, and then she immediately started casting again. And I'm ready to turn the boat around and head for shore, head back to the launch or whatever. And we kept fishing, and we ended up, this was up in northern Vermont, and we ended up like just murdering the smallmouth after that. I don't know how many we caught, probably 30 or 40, but a bunch of them were like over 4 pounds. It was one of those dream days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had some electrical tape and a napkin, and I taped it on the back of her calf. And she was such a trooper, man. She just stuck it out, and we killed him that day. I think that's probably one of the best memories that I have for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, it should be a proud father moment right there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There was many that she gave me as proud father moments, but that one was pretty cool.
She's listening in. She's getting you're getting brownie points right now for Christmas. That's awesome.
Man. I mean, I don't tell a lot of people, but in 2014, I was diagnosed with cancer in my neck and in my head. And my daughter quit her job to help take care of me and got me through everything. Of course, my wife did everything she could. And luckily now, I'm doing great. It's been 5 years, and there's nothing. They don't find anything on any scan. So, knock on wood, that stays that way. But yeah, you talk about a proud father. When your daughter steps up and does something like that, makes you pretty proud. So.
Well, first of all, congratulations, man. And second of all, yeah, you're one lucky father.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You are a trooper yourself, so congrats.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, Derek, it's been an awesome time sitting down with you, talking. It's
Yeah.
probably one of my longest podcasts. So I want to say just thank you for taking time out of your day to sit down and talk with me. It's been amazing to hear your story, and I hope. Well, I don't hope. I know we're gonna hop back on here sometime down the road. We're gonna stay in touch, and we'll get you back on the podcast to get an update of how you've been killing the
Sure.
KBF tournament trail and setting fire to it. So it's been awesome. So I appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you having me on. This was great.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
awesome. Well, you have a good night, Derek.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Stay easy.
All right, bye.